All right, what you've all been waiting for Kirk Fletcher to talk about gear, because I never talk about gear too much, So I just wanted to take time and talk about some of my gear, what I look for in sound, tone with some of my tools that I use and I've loved and I've played for years now. And I want to just talk first about guitars. And this guitar, my Gibson Collector's Choice Nicky, is a guitar that I got maybe 6-7 years ago during the Joe Bonamassa tour, the Muddy Wolf tour. No, actually, that was the Three Kings tour. I got this guitar. It was just fantastic. I got it at the Gibson Custom Shop, thanks to Joe Bonamassa. Thank you, my friend. One of my most cherished possessions. And I have modified this guitar. First thing I modified was the name. It was a Nicky Les Paul, but now it's called after my aunt Hattie in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, one of my favorite aunts. All of my aunts are my favorite. But Aunt Hattie, because she was a fiery lady, and this guitar is very fiery but sweet at the same time. So it's Hattie. And I have tricked it out by putting a Ron Ellis pickup in the neck position with a different magnet. I think it has an Alnico 5 magnet and a Ron Ellis pickup. I forgot which model, but that's what that is. And this is an original PAF humbucker that I got as a gift from, once again, my good buddy Joe Bonamassa. This PAF in the bridge, and it just made the guitar really sound unique and really, that pickup is so loud and so big sounding, yet, clear. So it's really hard to duplicate that, and hopefully nothing ever happens to it. And also another thing that I done was put a late 60s wiring harness in there too, as well, with the push-pull pot so I can get my out of phase on the bridge pickup tone control. So a little demonstration. I'll play a little bit on the neck and the bridge and then go to the out of phase. Goes a little something like this. Then neck and bridge. And then finally, the bridge pickup. And then I'll go to the out of phase. So basically I have it on a push-pull pot and I'll pull it up like that. And then I will kind of dial it in to taste. Usually with both volumes equal, it'll be the thinnest that it is. And then I'll gradually roll back the bridge pickup usually, or bring up the neck pickup to get it fatter to my liking. I'll start off like this, and then I'll gradually bring up the neck pickup or turn down the treble, whichever one I think to do. Sometimes I'll even make it, where I use that sound for playing like funky stuff too, as well as lead, something like. and get my extra quack. And that's my Nicky Les Paul, affectionately called Hattie B. And then the next guitar is my Gibson Custom Shop Murphy Lab that my good friend Matt Kohler designed and put together for me at the Gibson Custom Shop. Matt Kohler is a really good friend of mine, and I am really honored and privileged to play this guitar and to have this guitar made for me by Gibson. If you couldn't tell, I'm definitely a Gibson guy. This guitar, it's really nice. This guitar is basically, blonde, and it has a stinger on the back. And it's a 345, basically, with the ebony fingerboard, so I can get more of my B.B. King thing. Once upon a time, it had the variant tone and an out of phase, but I took all of that out and put in some early 70s humbuckers and an old wiring harness, 60s wiring harness. Because I really like the way that sounds. You know, it just has a really traditional, tried and true, good, wonderful Gibson sound, you know. And this guitar, a lot of times I'll play the 335 because to my ears it sounds just a little bit more, you know, the low end is a little bit more warm and not as quite punchy as the Les Paul. Sometimes the low end is a little more airy, and I really like that, you know, especially when I'm playing up high. I get this really fat thing on the high notes, you know. I really like playing 335 style guitars, also because a lot of my heroes too, like Larry Carlton and Chris Kane and Robin Ford at one time, and so many other guys, a lot of blues guys, everybody from B.B. King, Otis Rush, Eddie Taylor, Buddy Guy at one time. A lot of people played the 335, and I really love it. Even other players like, you know, Jay Graydon or Shuggy Otis or Ray Parker Jr. at one time, all of these guys gravitated towards the 335 at some point in their career, and I just want to try and follow in that tradition. So to give you a little history lesson on this guitar, I'll let you know how it sounds, let you hear how it sounds, you know. You know, kind of that tried and true, you know, 335 sound with a little extra cut, you know, with the ebony fingerboard. I really like that a lot. And then the pickup, the neck and the bridge together has this sort of sound, you know. A lot of B.B. King there. I love it. That was probably half the reason why I got an ebony fingerboard on my guitar. And then the bridge is, you know, you got that kind of... So that's my ES345, affectionately called Ogery. All right, on to pedals, what we all love so much. Pedals. Well, you know, I've been really digging lately this Jesse Davy pedal, the King Tone, the Duelist pedal. And it really, the heavy hand side sounds really good with Gibsons like my 335 or my Les Paul. I really like it a lot because with this pedal, you don't, you know, you can put it on like a backline amp or whatever kind of amp and just get a little bit of grit and boost. And it kind of cuts the bass a little bit so you don't have the, you know, sort of mushy low end. It kind of just sings, cuts the bass, and kind of just sits really good in the mix, you know. And a lot of times, you know, I have backline amps and things like that, so I really need something to not really push the low end too much. You know, most of my overdrive pedals are really just boost pedals with a little hair on them, you know, just a little bit of grit, just a little bit, you know. And this pedal sounds basically like this. This is the way I use it on the heavy hand side. With the pedal off, so it's just basically making my sound bigger, you know, and adding just a little grit and sustain to my sound. I really love it. And then if I want to get even crazier, I can put in the other side, the string singer side. You know, or if I have to play power chords or something, you know. So I like that pedal a lot. Then my next pedal is a vintage king wah, Vox king wah. I really like this wah a lot. My good buddy Josh Smith turned me on to this pedal. And really, for me, the vintage wah, I really like it because the sweep is really short. It's really a narrow sweep. You know, a lot of modern wahs have a wider range on them, and I really like this short range. That's something that really is cool, you know. So basically, all the way back in the bassiest position to the brightest position sounds like this. So really, like the lower the bassiest position all the way back, it's still, you can kind of still make out, you know, the sound. It's not so far back that you can't really hear. Yeah, so a lot of ways that I'll use the wah-wah, you know, a lot of times I won't use the wah-wah for lead. I'll use the wah-wah for rhythm guitar and just doing little things like, you know, funky rhythms, or I'll do like a sort of a Wah-Wah Watson. Nobody can do Wah-Wah Watson, but I'll try to attempt to do my version of Wah-Wah Watson. But the funky rhythm thing is like this kind of thing. You know, and I just think the Vox King Wah is really versatile in that regard. Another way that I'll use it too is I'll add a delay, and I'll use it more as like just like sound effects more so than actually using it, you know, sort of in that tradition of Wah-Wah Watson. You know? So I'll turn on my delay, my DD2 here with sort of a longer delay, sort of about right there, and I'll play like. Or, you know, as a sound effect, or I'll go. And that's how I use the wah-wah. Some of the ways that I use the wah-wah, and I also use it in the traditional, you know, playing little funky lines or something with the wah-wah, you know, playing like. Vox Quinoa. Then the next pedal is this Fairfield Secretary, and this pedal is new to me. And to me, it just sounds like a really fat boost. That's how I use it, you know. It sounds something sort of like this. Without it on, it sounds like. Then when I turn it on, to me, it's just a little greasier sound, and I like it, you know, when I'm playing a little bit more, you know, like bluesier things on the bridge pickup. Then the next pedal is my Venerum Jan Ray, and this gets a lot of use. I use it in different ways because it's really cool because it has treble and bass. So, you know, if I get a really dark sounding amp or a really bright amp, I can really tailor it to sit with whatever amp I'm using, you know. It's really cool and really useful. This is with it off and on. You can really dial it in with the neck pickup too on the Gibson. You know, you can turn down the bass and roll up the treble. It's really handy in the studio. I usually set it about right there though. The Jan Ray. Then the next pedal is this wonderful Cornerstone by Gladio, a pedal company out of Italy, and it's just incredible. Has a really nice musical, usable type, you know, overdrive to it. And I'll use this. You can put this in front of any kind of amp. Like a lot of times you'll maybe get like a twin reverb or something like that and need a little bit more gain actually coming from the pedal, you know, and more of the boost pedals don't work as well. So this is a really good pedal for that, you know. With it off, sounds like. With it on, sounds like this. Or if I want to get more drive out of it, I can flip this switch. Then it also has this clean control, and I can either bring that down to get more of the effect. Bring that top down. The Gladio. And this next pedal is an EQ pedal, and I'll just use that mainly in the studio, you know, if I want to get like something a little bit brighter or cut a little bass, you know, basically. That's what I use it for. Sometimes without even bringing the level up, I'll just keep it at unity and just kind of tailor it to whatever I need it for, you know. Just kind of makes parts stand out, you know. At that top end. The next pedal is my Strobo Stomp. That's amazing. All of my tuning problems are pretty much gone with that pedal. Works so well. And it's always nice to have a really straightforward tremolo too, you know. So I'm using this Exact Tone Solution modded Boss Tremolo TR2. With it on, sounds sort of like this, really good tremolo. It also has a hold function where you can either have it off and then press it down, and it functions, as well as, you know, turning it on. So it's really cool. I think Tom Bukovac had a great hand in designing this, with the wonderful people who built this board and modified that tremolo. Exact Tone Solutions here in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's really great. The next pedal is one of my favorite phaser pedals, and I really like to be able to have on tap the 70s. I love the 70s sounds. I love, just having this phaser. Phaser was used so much on records from the 70s, from, Outlaw Country to Crusaders records. Keep That Same Old Feeling by the Crusaders, those Southern Nights. And it sounds sort of like this. This is what I really use it for. And also the great keyboard player, pianist, Richard T. Also used the small stone phaser. It's wonderful, wonderful phaser sound, really smooth. I love that pedal. It is immediately when I turn it on, it makes me happy. Then the next pedal is my Flashback, and it's really great to have two separate delays so I can really set them different ways. I have the Flashback set more like a slap type thing, with it on. And I really started using the slapback, listening to guys like Robin Ford. He was really a big one for me with the slapback kind of delay. And also Ry Cooder too, as well, just wonderful slapback style things, as well as just old, like Little Walter records that harmonica with the slapback on it. I just love it so much. And then the next delay is my DD2, Boss DD2. And I use that for, like I said earlier, the longer delay, And definitely, last but not least, one of my favorite reverb pedals of all time is a Topanga by Catlin Bread Spring Reverb. It's not really a spring reverb, but it simulates the spring reverb. And I use this pedal. It has a feature where it has like a volume knob on there, and you can kind of boost the front end. So a lot of times I'll boost the front end with this, the spring reverb. I'll have it on or off, as well as, the Jan Ray or the Fairfield Secretary drive or the Cornerstone. I'll hit it a few different places, the front end of the amplifier. And this sounds like this, on. Typically, I'll play it, I'll use that instead of the reverb that it comes in like backline amps and things like that. I have my old Super here today, so I'm not really using it as much, but usually I have it engaged. Sounds like this. And then this volume knob on here, you can really boost it up if you want, I love it. So basically, I have different things. Short of my philosophy on pedals and things like that, I like to have an amp that's pretty clean, just barely on the verge of anything. This amp is pretty clean right now. And then I'll just hit the front end of it with some kind of any one of these drive pedals, and sort of get like this big tone and play really soft with it. So I'll get the amp cooking, turned up loud, and then I'll play soft, give you an example of that. So this is my clean sound with no pedals. Just big, clean sound. Then I'll hit it, say, with the heavy hand side of the Duelist, and just pick soft, but I have more gain. So it's still clean when you're playing lead lines, but when you play, double notes or chords and anything, gives you a little grunt. It's a little crunch on there. So an example is like, that's pretty clean. And then I'll play like, so basically it's still pretty clean, but I'm able to get a little bit of grit out of it when I play like chords and still stay clean when I play single lines, with it. And that's really kind of my philosophy and what I look for in a tone and, amp in a pedal situation. It feels different if you just turn the amp up. So usually I have some kind of humbuckers, pedals, a few different things hitting the front end of the amp harder, because to me it just sounds great like that. All right. I'd like to talk about my old Fender Super Reverb now. It is been with me for many, many, many years. It's, in my book, irreplaceable. Everybody's played through this amp. Larry Carlton, Robin Ford at different times, and everybody's complimented me on how great it sounded. And I'm really so happy and, so lucky to have it, and I got this amp. Actually, I'll give away all of my secrets. Actually, this is a Fender Bandmaster Reverb head that's had the output transformer change to accommodate the 4 10-inch speakers that a Super Reverb has. So basically, it's a Fender Bandmaster Reverb with the black, the faceplate. And I got that faceplate, funny enough, name dropping here, for a minute. I got it from Alexander Dumble. He gave me that. He had a few extra ones lying around, so he gave me that one to put on this. And this is an old 60s Super Reverb cabinet that Jim had and lying around back there in the day, in the 90s. And other things too on it is I got this trick from the guitarist Dave Melton, a dear friend. of running the reverb and the tremolo over to this normal channel. And that's something he told me that it made it fatter, and I believe him too. It's really fat, and then just having that reverb over here is really cool. So I just been doing that for years now. And also in this amp, originally I started off with all Celestion Vintage 10s in there, older Celestion Vintage 10s. And, it was really cool. It was really fat, and I was like, oh my God, it's amazing, But eventually I wanted just a little bit more, I wanted to brighten it up a little bit. So I put two of the original Alnico speakers in there, Fender speakers in there, just to brighten it up a little bit. And that was a good marriage between the Celestions at the bottom and then the Alnico Fender, maybe CTS speakers or whatever we had lying around at that time. Back in the days when things were plentiful, all of those things. Now everybody wants an arm and a leg for everything. But anyway, it's been just crazy. This amplifier is just one of the fattest sounding amps I've ever heard. And it stays clean too, on 3 or 4, it's really, really loud and it stays clean. And a lot of, your traditional supers are brighter and you have to turn them up to 6. This one, the real sweet spot is between like 3 and maybe 4.5 or so, something like that. That's really the sweet spot on this amp. And it stays clean and really big. It becomes bigger when you turn it up, and I really usually plugging straight in, it's really fat sounding. So I usually hit the front end with some kind of a drive pedal like a Jan Ray or something like that and really get it to really speak, and the reverb is really great in it. And yes, I would consider it invaluable. My beautiful Super Reverb, Bandmaster Reverb Mutt. I love it. It's got the stickers on here from playing with Charlie Musselwhite at the Doheny Blues Fest and Gaffer's tape on there and extra fuses in the back, and I love it. It's my baby. All right. Sounds a little something like this.